Hi, everybody. Welcome. The turnout is overwhelming, and I still see cars coming in. This is fantastic. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of Berkshire Community Land Trust and Community Land Trust of the Southern Berkshires, I want to welcome everybody to this celebration at Riverfront Farm. This is the flagship property for Farmsteads for Farmers, which will be a viable way of conserving land and giving farmers long-term security for generations to come. For those of you that don't know me, and that's a lot of you because I'm quite new to the area, it's nice to meet you. I'm Sarah Downey. I'm a member of the Board of Trustees of Berkshire Community Land Trust. I've loved the Berkshires from afar for many years and finally made the move to Lenox full-time a couple of years ago. I'm going to turn the mic over to Will Conklin, whom you all know, and he's going to say a few words of welcome.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to see so many familiar and friendly faces here, and I think that's what these types of projects are about, is to make our land more friendly and more familiar to those that work it and those that live around it. We will soon go through a list of all the sponsoring partners, but this truly exemplifies community to my mind, and it's wonderful to see everybody here, and we are blessed with this beautiful day, and I think we're blessed to provide something of a consecration for this land.
As is typical of the Berkshires, we have an interesting mix of people here today. It's our honor to acknowledge and introduce some of the organizations who support Farmsteads for Farmers, and they would be more than willing to tell you more about themselves today or at any time in the future. We have a long list to go through, so we're going to just take it in turns. So with us today, we have the Nature Conservancy, American Farmland Trust, Berkshire Natural Resources Council,
Berkshire Agricultural Ventures, Great Barrington Land Conservancy, Sheffield Land Trust, and the Egremont Land Trust. Not done yet.
Berkshire Grown, Greenagers, Schumacher Center for a New Economics, No Comply Foods,
Berkshires, the Sheffield Farmers Market, the Great Barrington Farmers Market, and, of course, Off the Shelf Farm.
What a powerhouse of organizations coming together to make sure that our farmers can produce fresh, healthy, local food for everyone who needs it. And just as importantly, making sure that the farmers who produce it can live and farm securely on debt-free land. Woo! So how does that happen? How do we make this happen? Community land trusts, like the Berkshire Community Land Trust, they work by raising money to purchase the land and then giving long-term renewable leases to the farmers. Because the land trust owns the land, it can never go back on the market. It's a model that protects land and builds economic resilience for the farmers. We're at a critical time in history. We have to act now to protect our farmland and support our local farmers. The evidence is piling up that the key to a thriving community is a resilient local food supply. All of the organizations here today know this and are working hard to support local farmers, but we need to do more. We must protect our farmland, which is disappearing to industrial and residential development at an alarming rate. Small-scale farming is under siege, and we feel that acutely in the Berkshires. At the heart of our mission is to solve the problem of land insecurity. We want to take the worry away so farmers aren't at the mercy of an owner who could change his or her mind at any moment. We want farmers to be able to plan for the future, not just for themselves, but for their families. This crucial stability benefits all of us. In 2021, when Molly Comstock of Colfax Farm lost her handshake lease on the farm, she didn't just lose the land. She lost the years of work she'd invested in it, including soil improvement. Fortunately, she was able to work with Elizabeth Keene at Indian Line Farm, where she continued growing healthy food for the community. But that wasn't enough. Now she was motivated to do something to focus the community on the crisis facing farmers in Berkshire County. And when Molly is motivated, watch out. Together with the indomitable Susan Witt, Farmsteads for Farmers honoring Harry Conklin was conceived. A way of changing things for everyone, farmers, residents, and future generations. And then there's Elizabeth Keene. How lucky are we to have such an inspiration among us? She's been farming on Indian Line Farm since 1997, when she worked with Berkshire Community Land Trust and the Nature Conservancy. Is the sound okay? Okay. After the sudden death of Robin Van En, to keep Indian Line Farm a working farm. Did you know that Indian Line Farm is the home of the first CSA in the United States? A nationwide movement that started here. And now we have the opportunity to start another nationwide movement. Farmsteads for Farmers begins right here, right now, today on River Run Farm. We're going to be hearing from Molly, but first I'd like to turn it over to Will to say a few more words about Harry Conklin and his legacy in the Berkshires and why Farmsteads for Farmers is so proud to honor him.
Thanks, Sarah. You can come with me if you want. So certainly I think Farmsteads for Farmers honors my father because he was on the Community Land Trust board, I believe since its inception, but for my whole lifetime basically. And and he worked quietly and diligently throughout all those years to the cause of the land trust and for farmers in general. You know, most of the stories that I remember from childhood of my dad as a lawyer is kids on the street coming up to me and said, "Man, I'm so glad your dad saved my hacky sack from the cops from me." And alongside doing that, I also heard just as many stories from farmers saying, "I'm so glad your dad was around to help me do this or that," and he probably didn't ask him for any money. And what that started with was my dad growing up on a farm in Sheffield, a small dairy farm. At the time, there were well over 20 dairy farms alone in Sheffield. And what I remember of my childhood is going to Grange dinners. And as recently as that, although it's not as recent as I like to think it was, is what that speaks to is that each town, and in some cases each village in each town, had their own grange, which meant there was enough farmers to fill those grange halls on a regular basis for a meal or for a community event, for a Christmas party, whatever it might be. In Sheffield, it was the Grange Hall next to the Collingwood Garage, and the Eggenbergers and the Legettes and the Conklins and many, many others would gather there, and somebody would dress up as Santa Claus. And what I think that all means to me and what it means to our community is that I would like to see us build that back. And if we want to build that back, we need to have enough farmers to fill those halls. We have farmers organizing for potlucks now and again, but it takes the whole south of the county to fill that room. And I want to fill those rooms. I would like to see those rooms filled in each village, in each town, with farmers just from that village and the whole county, because that's what it means to have a true culture that respects and honors the food that we eat and the land that we get it from and the people that do it. And so if that's the culture and community that we want, well, this is what it looks like. This is our room today. There's the food. So there's the model. We're on the farm. Let's just keep doing it.
Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce a powerhouse, the powerhouse that is Molly Comstock. She really needs no introduction, but here she is.
So embarrassing to get that kind of introduction in a way. And also so hard to follow Will. Is he not just the most... We're so lucky to have you. In truth, I've had a hard time thinking about what to say today because there's so many things to say. But one of the first and most important things to say is that the joy it brings me to look out here, that our community is filled with people who care. They care about the land, they care about the farmers, and events like this, even in the smallest part, are so important because now I get to meet you and we get to connect with each other and make our communities a little bit stronger than it was before. And then in a bigger way, we're doing something monumental here. During this whole process, I would get a lot of questions about like, why hasn't there been another Indian line farm in so long? And it was a question for me too. But now I can totally understand why it's taken 25 years. It's really hard to afford a piece of land. It's really hard to purchase it, and especially now since the real estate market's gotten so crazy. And we have gotten really lucky in our community with Jane Iredale, who stepped forward to help us make this happen. And I think part of why today I was reading the article, and when this event happened in my farming career, the only way I could hold it was to say that it's not just about me. It's about all of the farmers in our community and whether or not they have secure land access. And it's all the farmers that we don't have in our community yet because they cannot have access to land. I mean, we need more. We need way more. We need River Run again and again and again. And so Jane saying today that it wasn't about her in the article, that she's here to inspire more of us to do this, is what I'm here, standing here for too. It's not about me, it's about inspiring all of us to remember that food is the most important thing. That's what we're all made of. We're made of dirt. And we're standing on it here and we're saving this so that we can have more. Thank you, Susan. Thanks to everybody for coming, and thank you for being so supportive through this. Oh, sorry. And the other farmer who needs no introduction, Anna, it's your turn. Sorry, it's your turn.
Well, I can't say I have too much to say unique to what Molly said, because I feel really exactly the same way she does, that this is not about us. And when this property first came on the market, I went to Susan and I said, I'm not even sure this is for us, but this property is important and we need to do something about it so that it doesn't become condos or a gravel pit or solar or whatever. This is an important piece of agricultural land that this community needs to take action to save. So I just want to say thank you to Susan, who even before all of this happened came to me and said, whenever you're ready, whenever there's a property that makes sense, we're here for you. Which in this real estate market and just in this world, to have that kind of support is remarkable, and we're forever grateful for the Community Land Trust for being there for us, even when we didn't need it, or even when we didn't know we needed it, so that when the time came, we were ready. And then really when the time came was Jane. And I cold called Jane at the farmer's market, and I said, Jane, there's this piece of property, will you come look at it with me? And she looked at me for a second and she said, okay. And we set it up, and it was, there were bids already in and this whole thing, and she came here and she walked and she heard our story and our needs, and she said, what do you need? And that was it's just the most amazing feeling to be in a position as a farmer where you have really so little, power in a situation like this. To have somebody to say, okay, I hear you, and I'm ready to support you. And then to connect Susan and Jane, it's just like, watch out, you know. I just had to step back and let them work their magic. But we're super excited. We've sort of had animals on this property for about a month, and I keep saying I don't even think we realize how amazing this opportunity is, because we've never had this type of security before. We've never had land that is ours. We've never had access to grants so we could put up a building that we might need, or drill a well, or put up permanent fencing. We've never been able to have that in the 6 years that we've been farming on our own, and that's all to come. And it's just, yeah, it's pretty amazing. And thank you all for supporting this project and the land trust and the future projects. I really believe what Molly said, that this is the model, hopefully, to move forward, to do this again and again and again, because the farmers are retiring, and there aren't young farmers here to take over because they don't see the opportunity here, because as we know, it's an expensive place to live and an expensive place to even consider buying anything. So if we can be ahead of that and say, we have opportunities, come, and we can help you get set up, then we can really continue to grow more food and be a really strong community that obviously shows up for each other. So thank you all for being here. And please, you know, I hope walk around and say hi to all the birds that are here right now.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to have a short tree planting ceremony, and I'd ask Jane to come up.
Thank you so much for being here. This is just, Susan and I breathed a sigh of relief when we saw those cars coming down the driveway. Oh, we're not alone. That'd be wonderful. A lot of people have made this day possible. From Anna Houston, who first approached me with this crazy plan, to Berkshire's treasurer, Susan Witt, who didn't think it was so crazy, to Sather, where is Sather? Over there, who has thrown himself wholeheartedly into the house renovation and invasive clearance, to Jaime and Juan Carlos, where are they? Oh, who worked 5 days a week, all winter long, cutting bittersweet vines and releasing the trees with a big sigh. Gracias por todo el trabajo duro. And to the legal team, who are still dealing with MassDOT. To my husband, Bob, who didn't divorce me when he knew I'd taken on yet another project. And to all the organizations who came together to support River Run Farm. Thank you, all of you. We're going to plant a tree. Actually, we planted the tree. We're going to continue planting the tree today, and to acknowledge Earth Day. We chose a scarlet oak because of its beauty, its glorious color in the fall, and its special habit of not dropping its leaves until the new ones appear, providing shelter through the winter for a lot of very needy critters. Oaks are known as keystone species, meaning they're trees that entire ecosystems depend on for survival and habitat, more than any other species of tree. When oaks disappear, so do the animals, birds, and plants that need oaks to survive. But this oak is not going to disappear, because we have a specialist who's going to ensure its survival. Dennis Mara from Windy Hill Farm helped us choose the tree and donated his time, labor, and materials to make sure it will reach its magisterial height. Thank you, Dennis. was supposed to be here. Where is Dennis? There he is, over there. Thank you, Dennis. He planted a lot of scarlet oaks at my house, and I can tell you, when they're in the fall, that color is absolutely breathtaking. And now Lily Massey from the Schumacher Center for New Economics has something really special to say about the soil that's being planted with our oak.
Hi. Thank you, Jane. This day's been a long time coming, so it's really lovely seeing everybody here. I just want to say that, in the full scope of things, when you look at River Run Farm, it may seem like a tiny dot, but it's a dot that can inspire, encourage, and grow. And this dot, this piece of land, this project, is teeming with energy because it does not exist in a vacuum. In fact, it's a part of a growing and very large, thank you, network of, a global network of agricultural gardens and small farms across the world that reside on communally held land. And all of that is made possible by people who care, like everyone here today. And so some of these gardens and farms wanted to be included today, so they sent us gifts, which are here, to plant with the tree. The first is from the Southeastern Community Land Trust in Voluntown, Connecticut. Their indigenous members sent us some tobacco, sage, and cedar to bless the land, along with a wish for its future. The Lopez Island Farm Trust in Washington State sent us soil with this message. We wish that the land sings the song of resilience. The land nurtures, feeds, and heals the people and all sentient beings. And in turn, the people heal the land through restoration efforts. And lastly, this is one of my faves, is the Dutch activist Henry Mentink sent us a mixture of soil, which he collected from all around the world. Sorry. Last year in April, starting on Earth Day, Henry walked from his home in the Netherlands to the headquarters of UNESCO in Paris, carrying a wheelbarrow full of all that soil from around the world. And he went to UNESCO with the mission to nominate the entire Earth on the World Heritage List. So it feels very special to have soil that's literally from around the world. And we'll add it to the tree afterwards. And as Jane said, the scarlet oak is very much a life source for its surrounding ecological community. And I like to think of the agricultural gardens and the small farms around the world, like Off the Shelf Farm, as life sources for their communities. And with that, I want to thank you all for being here. It's lovely to see everyone's faces. And the tree is half planted, but I think everyone can grab some soil and add to the tree and make this really a communal tree. So thank you.
All right. Well, I think this concludes our remarks. So thank you all for coming. We really, really appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to Will to say a final thank you.
Thanks again to everybody, and please, as you move back towards the food, do pass by the tree and take a scoop, and we'll finish this off with some additional soil and some mulch, and just keep this day and this place in mind. There's much more to come.